Osceola County Stadium in Kissimmee, Florida. It's spring training baseball on Root Sports Southwest. The Houston Astros take on the Washington Nationals on another gorgeous day in Central Florida. And good afternoon, everybody. Bill Brown along with Alan Ashby. Julia Morales joins us in a few minutes to see the Astros and Nationals. The Houston Astros have really gotten off to a nice start and solid starting pitching, Ash.
5-1 on the spring, and they have done it in good part with the starting pitching. The guys have been really good. In fact, a 1.5 ERA for the starting pitchers who have gone out there in those 6 games to this point. And they did it yesterday against a very formidable Yankees lineup over in Tampa, a lineup that was pretty representative of what Joe Girardi will likely throw out there.
It would be hard to say that this first 6-game stretch could be improved upon very much this year, right?
Well, not by the weather anyway. We're certain of that. On the other side, it's been good, too. Picking up the wins, always nice. You would say it doesn't mean anything if they were losses right now, but it's nice to see the club go out and win and do it with the impressive pitching that they've thrown out there. They've had some of the young guys performing well. In terms of young guys, while the home runs have been flying out, Matt Duffy has been very impressive. 3 home runs already. And in watching some of the defensive drills on the backfields, looking really good, whether it be at first base or third base. We've got some great stuff shaping up right now at first base in particular.
And we'll highlight that first base battle as we go throughout the game today. It should be a game with excellent pitching if you go by credentials. Former Washington starter Doug Fister goes for the Astros, his second start. Max Scherzer, who pitched 2 no-hitters last year, goes for the Nats, and he's always fun to watch.
Well, Max Scherzer, we know, has some of the best stuff in the American League, now in the National League. So I think we have an idea of what we're going to see from him early on. Doug Fister, 7 years in the big leagues now. He's 32 years of age, and he's been a good one. He had won 30 games over a couple of seasons, going a couple of seasons back. But last year, had a fall-off year, 5 wins, had a little bit of an arm problem. So I think one of the big questions is, can he rebound and become that pitcher he had been prior?
Stay tuned for spring training baseball. It's coming your way next.
A safe car.
The Camry's really the Nationals at Osceola County Stadium. Some spring training action for you. Doug Fister will take the mound as he is right now for his second start of spring training, this time facing the team that he played for the last 2 seasons. Now he joins a solid rotation with the Houston Astros, all these guys getting a little bit of playoff experience under their belt last year. But Fister comes in with quite a bit of postseason experience on his own. He's made 8 postseason starts, 7 of those with the Tigers, but his most recent one with that team in red, the Astros are playing today, the Nationals in 2014, the NLDS versus the Giants. Game 3, he was spectacular in that game. 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, allowing only 4 hits. That kept up a season where he had a 2.41 ERA. But 2015, of course, the season he'd like to forget. The guys were mentioning earlier, battling injuries, looking to bounce back. But today, A.J. Hinch hopes to see him getting his pitch count up. Maybe we see 3 innings for him. He works fast, likes to get himself tired. So I'm going to send this up to Ash. We welcome you to the broadcast. It's good to have you with us. But what did you think of this addition for the Houston Astros?
Thank you, Julia, and it's great to be back. You know, Doug Fister is a guy that, and you mentioned the postseason experience, 4-2 in the postseason. That's really nice, assuming this team can get there. Doug Fister, a guy you'd like to be able to count on. But at 32 years of age, after an arm problem last year, can he rebound? They certainly hope so, do the Astros. He was a 16-game winner in 2014. And maybe on top of everything, he's a strike thrower. Like you say, he works quickly. I'm sure the guys defensively will love working behind him.
So Fister in his second outing as a Houston Astro gets started with Matt den Dekker leading it off, the right fielder for the Nationals. He's hitting .333 this spring. He's a former New York Met. The Nationals did not exactly bring a representative lineup here for this game today, so you may not recognize the 9 batters all that well unless you've been a pretty good baseball fan down through the years. 1 ball, 1 strike. As you know, when they really play games that count, their most valuable player in the National League, Bryce Harper, will be the right fielder. He was the 4th youngest MVP in history at age 23. That one caroms off the leg of Fister out to second base, and a quick little flip comes from Jose Altuve for out number 1. It's Matt den Dekker in right field, Trey Turner the shortstop, Michael Taylor in center field, Clint Robinson at first base, Tyler Moore's the DH with Jason Martinson at third base, Wilmer Difo the second baseman, Reed Johnson in left field, Jose Lobaton the catcher. Nice little play by Altuve, who had to scramble on that carom shot off the leg of the big right-hander Fister, and big to the tune of 6'8". Trey Turner the batter. A very speedy, exciting young shortstop taking ball 1 who got some major league time in last year. He was traded last season from San Diego to Washington. It's a 1 ball, 1 strike count to Trey Turner. And he was playing for the Padres knowing that he had been traded to Washington, but he had just been drafted the year before. And the rule is that a player who had just been drafted the previous year can't be traded for a year. They've changed it since then, but that was the rule at the time. So it had to be a little bit of an odd feeling for this 2-time All-America from North Carolina State to know he was a Padre, but he wasn't going to be a Padre very long. He beats that one on the ground. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Nationals seem on paper to be a strong team this year as Dusty Baker takes over as their skipper from Matt Williams, who was fired after last season. Danny Espinosa may be the starting shortstop, but Turner will press him this spring if he is. And of course Ian Desmond has moved on through free agency, so there's been a little shift on the infield with Daniel Murphy joining this club at second base after his heroics in the postseason last year for the New York Mets. 3 balls, 2 strikes. You mentioned Fister's earlier outing, and it was a good one and a quick one. Ash, and as Julia indicated, A.J. Hinch told the media today that Fister likes to pitch tired so the sinker will have good movement, but that can be difficult when a pitcher is only assigned to work 3 innings in a game.
It's been a classic response about sinker ballers through the years. They like to be tired, have the arm in particular tired to where they do get some extra sink. But you can see right here with Fister and the count at 3-2, when he's missed right where he's wanted to, down and away, just off the edge.
Well, you talked about that game yesterday, the Astros beating the Yankees 1-0. Very well pitched ball game by the Astros. And Trey Turner draws a 1-out walk. So as a result, the Astros, with just 1 starting pitcher of their first 6 games surrendering any runs, have really been off to an excellent start on the mound. Here's a look at the Houston club with Colby Rasmus in left field, Carlos Gomez in center, George Springer in right. Around the infield, it's Colin Moran, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, John Singleton, Jason Castro, the catcher. And Michael Taylor's the batter, speedy center fielder. Turner is a threat to run. He really has extreme speed. And Fister has an excellent move, so it's a good matchup here to see if he can run on Fister or if he even has that plan right now. Taylor's hit .375 with a homer this spring. He bunts and keeps it fair, barehanded, but not picked up by Colin Moran, and that's going to be an infield bunt single, getting Turner to second with Taylor getting the single.
I think Colin Moran would have been better served just allowing that ball to roll. Now, you'd have to chase it because it was bunted pretty sharply and likely would stay fair, but there was no shot of picking up an out here, even with a clean pickup. Now, that's one of those plays that I think could challenge just about anybody.
Clint Robinson has runners at first and second with one out. Robinson in the mix to be on this opening day club for the Nats. He's at first base today. He has a homer this spring. He's driven in 3. And there is strike one. Now with Dusty Baker having such strong credentials as a manager, the Nationals tabbed his experience to take over their club after reportedly offering former Padre manager Bud Black only a 1-year deal, and he turned it down.
That sounds like less than what you'd call a commitment.
Well, it's unusual that somebody who's managed as long and as well as Bud Black would only get a 1-year offer. That's fouled away, and it snowballs 2 strikes. But in Baker, who is 66 years old, he was named manager in November. They are getting a gem of a skipper who's been to the playoffs time after time as a manager. He has managed 5 division championship teams.
And you can see he's got his spring training moves down over there.
Dusty's been sitting out for a while since Cincinnati let him go. Robinson swings, and he comes up with a strikeout.
That looked like a little bit of a changeup. Doesn't take a whole lot off of that sinker, but able to get hitters out in front. Yeah, you can see the grip there. Definitely the changeup and definitely in front.
He sold it with that motion, didn't he?
He does, and to me, that's the key. Always said it. Get a grip you trust. Throw it as hard as you can.
Tyler Moore's the DH. Moore with an 0.91 average for the first few games. And the breaking pitch is in for strike one. That's a pitch he's been working on quite a bit with pitching coach Brent Strom to try to get the release point on the breaking pitch as close as it is to the sinker as possible, so that it does not tip off to that hitter that the curveball is coming.
No pitching coach wants to see a guy have a breaking ball come upwards out of his hand. And with the slow curveball, it's hard not to have it happen, but they would love to see him start that downward.
He can certainly make it look like Dallas Keuchel in terms of having 2 and 3 pitch outs with the sinker on slowly hit grounders sometimes, and that's what Pfister's made a living of. 32 years old, 65 major league wins, 63 losses, and a 3.42 ERA for his career. He signed a 1-year deal with A.J. Hinch's Astros for $7 million guaranteed. Incentives could take it up to $12 million. And he joined the club in January. Pickoff play at second. Whoa, is that close? As he throws it back to Altuve covering. Fine move to second base.
I like that. Of course, you see a lot more of this during spring training games than you do during the regular season, but I like a guy who's aggressive on the hill and cuts down those leads.
And very quick to home plate. That one's in for strike 3, and it's no runs a hit, 2 men stranded, no score. top of the first inning, leaving 2 on base. Now the Astros come up, and you see aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DIRECT-TV. Gorgeous view on a gorgeous day here in Central Florida. And we check the starting lineup card of A.J. Hinch. Jose Altuve leads it off at second base. It's George Springer in right field with Carlos Correa playing shortstop. The cleanup man is left fielder Colby Rasmus. He's followed by center fielder Carlos Gomez, DH A.J. Reed, first baseman John Singleton, third baseman Colin Moran, and catcher Jason Castro.
When you talk about an ace of a staff, Washington has one with Max Scherzer, no doubt about it. Brownie alluded to the 2 no-hitters that he threw in one season last year. Just phenomenal stuff. He's doing the same thing here on the spring. He's 1-0 in one start, working a couple of innings and striking out a man. Has great stuff with his fastball, but mixes in the other pitch as well. This guy can really deal, make a day a really tough one for the hitters.
Scherzer signing with his club prior to last season as a free agent. Came up with 14 wins and 12 losses despite an ERA of 2.79. A tough luck season for Max Scherzer. Jose Altuve leads it off. Altuve looks at ball 1. Tell you what, if the Astros hitters, Ash, want to hunt fastballs today against Scherzer, that'll be about as difficult as finding a Waffle House within 5 miles of here.
You think you can do that?
Yeah, it's not that tough. 1-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the mental picture you've just drawn for me.
Altuve flips one into shallow right field and in for a hit. Gets it by Wilmer Defoe, who tried to lay out for it, but Altuve's on with a flare single to right.
A lot of talk these days about exit speeds of the baseball off a player's bat. I think it was about 3.5 miles per hour on this one from Jose Altuve. Fastball got right in on the hands, and just another hit for Jose.
Well, he's off to a bit of a slow start, if you call a few games a start. Gets that one in, and he's aboard for George Springer. Springer looks at ball 1. George with a .429 batting average. Has looked very good this spring.
I could make an argument for it's not a bad thing to face a guy like Scherzer during the spring, because you will get a lot of fastballs. You can kind of turn your dial up and air it out a little bit. And boy, the way George is built right now, he probably would like to air it out quite a bit.
He trains hard in the winter. Smacks a line drive into center field in front of Taylor for a single. Altuve into second base, and the Astros have something working for Carlos Correa.
George had 3 doubles in his first 3 official at-bats on the spring, so just a dang single right here for George. But look at the way he centers it up. Looking really good, and this version of George Springer could make some kind of noise.
He had a big improvement last year, didn't he?
Keep that guy healthy. That's a key cog.
It is. Carlos Correa, Rookie of the Year last year in the American League, has hit .400 this spring. And there's strike 1 to Correa.
Speaking of key cogs, Carlos Correa has the baseball world abuzz right now, and it's legit.
Yeah, you mentioned keeping Springer healthy. George missed several weeks. Carlos didn't come up until June 8th to the big leagues last year. So having him for a full season could really add to the offense. 1-1.
The irony is that was the start of the season where the Astros made hay in terms of wins and losses. It was that latter portion of the year where they couldn't quite get it on a run.
True. Good speed on the bases. That one will go foul. It's 1-2. And speaking of speed on the bases, A.J. Hinch addressed that with his media session today, and he said that the Astros have an objective of being a little bit better in terms of their base running, a little bit more efficient, taking some extra bases. They did a good job last year, but he feels there's room for improvement in that department.
Especially when you look at the speed, and especially at the top of this order.
Evan Drellick wrote in the Houston Chronicle that the Astros had extended the contract of A.J. Hinch over the winter very quietly. People didn't know about it, and so A.J. got that question today, and he said, yes, we did address that, but I'm not going to divulge details of it. That's not the club policy to do that, but I'm very, very happy. Correa's down on strikes, 1 down. Let's take a look at the Nationals now defensively. Johnson, Taylor, and Dendecker. Martinson, Turner, Diffo, Robinson, Scherzer, and Lobaton.
By the way, it looked like a nice changeup to pick up that strikeout on Carlos Correa.
Yeah, Scherzer is one of the best around. Colby Rasmus with a .333 average, including a homer. We'll try him next. Scherzer is a 3-time All-Star. Fouling that one away for strike 1. He became only the 5th pitcher in Major League history to throw 2 no-hitters in the same regular season. The first came against Pittsburgh, June 20th. The second was at the end of the season against the New York Mets, October 3rd. And he won the American League Cy Young Award in 2013. And, of course, the 2015 winner, Dallas Keuchel, will be pitching here tomorrow. We're back on TV with that game, 11:30 Houston airtime for Astros pregame, live tomorrow. That'll be Dallas's initial trip to the mound this spring.
Yeah, that 1.54 ERA for the starters this spring, not even including Dallas Keuchel.
True. And also Lance McCullers hasn't thrown in a game yet. He's due to start this week. Either start or he may pitch in relief, but he'll pitch at some point. 1 and 2. But it's been a really nice first trip through the Astros starting rotation. Now this is the second time through, starting today with Pfister making his second start. 25 homers for Rasmus last season. This one will be a single into right field. Altuve's coming to the plate, and the throw is skipping by the catcher, so Altuve scores. Springer rounding third. It's backed up by Scherzer. 1-0 Houston. One hop throw to the plate. Lobaton couldn't handle it. It looked like a good throw from Dendecker, but the Astros lead, and Rasmus gets an RBI.
Yeah, baby!
Well, I think Max Scherzer probably has some quickly formulated impressions about the Houston Astros right about now. Jose Altuve, that terrific speed, the instincts are always there.
Rasmus drives in the first run of this game, his second RBI of the spring. He's aboard for Carlos Gomez. Carlos is looking for his first base hit, and that's ball 1. Gomez was not healthy for the most part when he was with the Astros last year. He's 0 for 4 this spring. After an offseason, .255 with 12 homers. He was traded by Milwaukee to Houston during this season. And then he came up with an injury. That oblique injury, but still hit a couple of playoff home runs playing through that injury at the end of the year. 2-0. We were talking during the pregame chat about a full season of Carlos Gomez. You talked about a full season of Springer, full season of Correa. Could be quite a boost for the offense, which certainly was not a laggard type offense last year. Chris Carter, as you know, has moved on. So the Astros have lost some home runs with Carter leaving, but they were 4th in the league in runs scored, 2nd in homers last year. They may pick up some long balls if these 3 guys we're talking about are healthy.
But as you say, Brownie, Carlos Gomez did have a down year in terms of what his career has shown to this point, but adding him to this Astros team just builds up on all that talent that's out there. He is one of those loaded with talent guys.
Base is loaded now. Yeah, Gomez is that package of speed, good defensive play, and power. So now it gets interesting with A.J. Reed coming to the plate. Interesting for people who haven't seen Reed, who at 22 years old is looking very good this spring. .364, no homers, 1 RBI. not only in terms of his size and his power, but the ability to hit the ball to left field hard. That's a big part of his plan. Fouls it for strike one.
By the way, speaking of Carlos Gomez, Brett Phillips, one of the guys that was traded for him. Have you seen that video this spring with him laughing in the Brewers camp?
No.
You got to see it.
Okay.
You and everybody out there, you got to YouTube that one and just check out the laugh. Just see if you can manage to not laugh while watching Brett Phillips.
Okay. Reed takes it, and it's 1-1. Reed shows a very quiet style at the plate, a good eye. He took his share of walks last year. Hit 346 at Lancaster with 23 bombs and 318 at-bats. And then 332 at Corpus, 11 home runs for the Hooks and 205 at-bats. And he had his walks. He had 100 walks last season, and those two stops combined. Big cut there, makes it 1-2.
I can only assume that was Reed grunting right there. But
sounded like it.
Sounded like about a 500-foot grunt.
It did. If he had connected, it probably would have gone that far. Wind is blowing out to left field today. 2 days ago, it was blowing over toward the right field corner. And tight, and it's 2-2, and that is an illustration of Reed's knowledge of the strike zone. With 2 strikes, he just quietly took that pitch.
Guys that don't have that front side move much, and Reed was very steady on that pitch, they see the ball better, they react more efficiently, and that's exactly what we saw on that pitch.
He fouls that one off. That's another characteristic of a good hitter. Maybe tied up by a pitch, but able to get the bat on the ball and stay alive.
He's got quick hands. He's a big guy, and obviously the power is going to be the first thing everybody talks about. They say defensively at first base, he's looked good here in camp.
And Reed also used to be a pitcher at the University of Kentucky. He was their Friday night starter.
Yeah, he's got a big-time arm.
He was the Baseball America Minor League Player of the Year last year. Led the minors in homers, runs batted in. Fouls it away. Good confrontation here between Scherzer and Reed. With John Singleton on deck.
This guy is probably, well, I hate to say centerpiece, but he is part of the centerpiece of that battle down at first base this spring. And I think he's, as much as anybody, a guy that eyes are on right now.
He's listed at 6'4", 255. He weighed more than that last spring.
Yeah, this is the slimmed down version right here.
You know, what you said, though, about him with his fielding skills and the fact that he doesn't just hit homers and strikeouts the way a lot of big strapping first basemen do, makes him potentially a really valuable guy down the road.
He just fouled off that changeup from Scherzer that struck out Carlos Correa. And again, that steady approach, eyes stay still.
When decisions are made on which players make a team and which go to the minor leagues, at-bats against a certain caliber of pitching in spring training has to factor in whether it was facing a Double-A pitcher as opposed to a Max Scherzer, correct?
No, I'm picturing that meeting that you're referring to, and somebody who wants that guy on his ball club says, did you see the way he dealt with Max Scherzer and everything Scherzer had to throw him?
Fouls this one away. Scherzer unable to finish him off.
Well, if Scherzer wanted to get some work in today, he's getting his wish.
Well, his first start went very well. He didn't give up an earned run. He got the win. And he's part of a very talented rotation for the Nationals, including Steven Strasburg, Gio Gonzalez, probably Tanner Roark and Joe Ross, the way it would look to some. Foul straight back. This is fun. Time for Lobaton and Scherzer to try to figure something out that might work on Reed.
I don't know what's going through the mind of A.J. Reed right now. If he's feeling like, you know what, I'm right on everything, and he is. Or if he's thinking, I should have handled those pitches, because when a guy's really good, and that's what Reed has been to this point, I don't care who's on the hill, you feel like you should bust everything they throw.
Scherzer was pitcher of the month in May and June in the National League last year. Walked only 34 with 272 strikeouts. That's ripped foul. It's getting more and more interesting as this at bat continues, isn't it?
Yeah, that old, what was it, the Yankees movie way back when? How are you going to keep them down on the farm?
Yeah.
I think that applies in my head right now when I'm looking at A.J. Reed.
It's been an 11-pitch at bat so far for Reed.
Yeah, that wasn't a Yankees movie. That was probably a non-baseball movie, wasn't it?
He takes, and it's ball 3.
Even Joe West, the umpire, is impressed.
Joe is the home plate umpire today. And he wasn't biting.
Look at the front side. Watch what happens on that backdoor slider. That front shoulder held its ground, as did the lead hip. And that's how you see the baseball well, and then you react.
Roll to third. Here's the throw to the plate for the force out on Springer. And it's out number 2. What a battle, though.
Well, Max Scherzer finally wins that battle, but he'll remember that battle. He'll remember who that guy was.
Yeah, these two teams are not due to play each other in regular season play, but who knows? Perhaps they'll square off again somewhere down the line in postseason. And he would have to go back to that mentally if he ever had to face him again. John Singleton now has this bases loaded opportunity. Singleton's hit 154 with a homer, and he's driven in 3. Off-speed pitch floats outside for ball 1. Interesting that Singleton and Reed, two of the combatants in the first base battle, are hitting back-to-back in the lineup today. Singleton had a nice game here a couple of days ago, hitting a homer and a bases loaded double. 2 balls, no strikes.
Tyler White, another one of the names in that battle at first base, and he's looked really good. He's kind of that right-hand hitter that everybody basically says just a pure hitter.
Right there for a strike.
And then there's Matt Duffy. Is he a first baseman, a third baseman? I'm not sure, but he is a hitter right now and looks good defensively in the drills. Matt Duffy tied for the leadership in all of baseball right now for the spring home run lead, 3 of them.
Marwin Gonzalez has played first base as well. It's 2-2 to John Singleton. Very big spring for John. He hit 191 and just 47 at-bats last year for the Astros. The year before, 13 homers and 310 at-bats. He was recalled in early June of 2014, signing a 5-year deal with Houston. Fouls that one back. And Singleton, now 24 years old, was drafted by the Phillies in 2009 in the 8th round. The Astros traded for him in July of 2011. That was the Hunter Pence trade. It's one high and foul to right field.
Boy, this heart of the Astros batting order is looking rather thumpy right now.
Wearing out Scherzer.
Of course, this is what everybody's looking for from John. You've got to produce on the corner infield spots, and John didn't produce it all last year. but you have to believe he's capable.
Nationals are getting a pitcher loose in their bullpen here in the first inning.
I think Scherzer's going to get one today and fly.
Changeup got him a strikeout, and he gets out of further trouble. The Astros grab the lead with a run on 3 hits. They leave 3, 1-0 Houston.
4,000 ASC certified.
Not as high as our DirecTV blimp. Nonetheless, that bird has a view of this 1-0 game. Doug Fister, 2014 with the Nationals.
He's a strike thrower is probably what you say, and that good sinker will create a lot of ground balls. Doug Fister won't walk many. And through his career of 7+ years now, he walks less than 2 men per 9 innings. So that's what you get, a guy that works quickly, love to play behind him, and he'll fire strikes. Nice changeup mixed in as well.
1-0 Astros. Fister out for the second inning of work. And he bounces that one, but it's ball 1 to Jason Martinson, playing third base today. Anthony Rendon will man the hot corner for the Washington Nationals, the Rice University product.
Some of the best work you see there from Doug Fister, 2011, Seattle, Detroit. And then, of course, with Washington. And we mentioned earlier that over a 2-year span with Washington, 13 and 14, he won 30 games, so he's very capable.
Coming into camp, it looked as if 6 pitchers were battling for the 5 spots in the rotation. That's the way it looked to many anyway. But Fister, having signed as a free agent over the winter, would seem to be in prime position to grab one of those 5 spots. 3-1. The top 3 are pretty well set in stone: Keuchel, McHugh, and McCullers. 3-2, and Mike Fiers pitched well last year for the Astros. He would seem to be in line. And then Scott Feldman has come back from his shoulder problem and thrown well this spring also. Good sinker there.
Brownie, I thought he looked good, talking about Feldman. And he looked anything but hesitant. I would say the injury is behind him.
Kept that one down well, didn't he?
You see that sinking action. And he does do a really nice job of taking some speed off at times.
Mm-hmm. And coming from that 6'8" frame, that is quite a downward plane that he creates. Now Wilmer Defoe, the batter, the second baseman today. That's ball 1. It's been quite an unusual free agent market, leaving a lot of players still out there available. A couple of signings in the last couple of days by major league clubs, so kind of a nervous time for some of the free agents this past winter. Pfister signed in January. But he talked in glowing terms about joining the Houston Astros. And it's a good match in a lot of ways. You talked about the year he had in 2014 with a 2.41 ERA. The Astros would love to have something close to that, certainly. And he just likes the good young team with the excellent defense behind him.
He was 8th in the Cy Young voting that year. So that's how good he was.
Pfister began his career in the Seattle organization. They drafted him in 06 in the 7th round. It's a swing and a miss there for strike 2. And as he pitched for Seattle in 09 and then 2010, he was traded to Detroit in 2011. Had some good years there before Washington picked him up in a trade. That's ball 4.
Very close, and obviously Doug Pfister wanted that call. Jason Castro tried to frame it right there. Let's take our peek. Yeah. You want to paint that edge. That's a pretty good effort. Joe West not buying in.
Does Joe West look a little trimmer to you this spring?
Maybe. What I've noticed about Joe is he's got no arm left at all.
Uh-oh.
Of course, he said that about me many years.
Strike 1 to Reed Johnson, veteran outfielder. Good guy, Joe West.
Yes, he is.
Been around for many, many years.
You have a collection of his CDs?
I do have some CDs from Joe West, yes. How about yourself?
I've had a collection of his CDs.
So does that mean you've gifted them to someone?
It would seem that way, doesn't it?
Okay. Defoe takes off, knocked down by Pfister. He scrambles back and gets the out at first. 2 down.
That's about as close as Doug Pfister's going to come to picking up a double play here in this game today. I would think anyway. If he hangs on, he just can turn and jog it to the bag.
Mm-hmm. Defoe to second on the 1-3 play for out number 2. Now it's Jose Lobaton, the catcher.
Also might indicate that Doug Pfister can handle things on the mound defensively.
Well, that's important for a sinker ball pitcher, as we've seen from Dallas Keuchel. Lobaton with ball 1. Keuchel won the Gold Glove, but Gold Glove or not, it's really essential for a sinker ball guy to be able to square up and flag down some of those would-be hits up the middle. 2 balls and no strikes. Certainly it had to be important for Pfister when taking a look at the Astros infielders to realize that this was an infield that makes plays behind a ground ball pitcher. That one's a liner into right field. Springer comes up and bobbles the ball. That'll allow the tying run to score, and it's 1-1. He might have peeked at Defoe, whatever. It was Lobaton with a single, and that ties the game.
I think the opportunity was presented right there. I don't know if George at this stage of the spring is ready to uncork the big arm that he possesses, but he had a shot. He's probably kicking himself right now. Of course, you'll have some teammate, somebody in the dugout will be saying, save it until the real time.
Yeah. Matt Den Decker grounded out a ground ball off the leg of Pfister. It caromed over to Altuve, who got him. And the curve works its way in for strike 1. Astros starting pitchers really led the way for this club last season. They had 94 quality starts, second most in the American League. 2 hopper to Altuve. And that ends the inning. In the second, the tying run comes home. It's 1 run, 1 hit, and a man left. 1-1.
Bottom of the second inning. The Astros home opener is April 11th. That's against the Kansas City Royals. You know, those world champs. And tickets are on sale right now. Watch the Astros kickoff 2016 by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS, or you can visit astros.com/opening day.
That opening day game will have a special flair, won't it, with those two teams having met in the playoffs last year.
I think the Royals remember who the Astros are, and they're a good ball club and deserving of winning it all, but they were fortunate to get by the Astros.
A.J. Hinch out for a little chat with the umpiring crew. And it's Colin Moran to lead it off in the bottom of the second inning. Moran had a nice year last year despite having a fractured jaw. He was sliding into a base in a Corpus Christi game, and the throw from the outfield hit him and fractured his jaw. So that left him without the ability to do very much physically, and he started studying video for the first time and felt that he really picked up some helpful hints from looking at video of his hitting. From July on, the video work paid off to the tune of a .333 batting average and a .536 slugging percentage.
So I guess that leads me to ask, how in today's world of Major League Baseball, or the minor leagues for that matter, do you not incorporate video into your game?
Yeah. It's one of those things that's widely assumed of just about everyone, right?
I would think so.
Scherzer gets it in over the outside edge for strike two. Moran, 23 years old. He was a first-round pick of Miami in 2013. The sixth player drafted that year. Collins listed at 6'4", 215. From Rye, New York, and the University of North Carolina. He led the nation in runs batted in college at North Carolina. Had 91. And his brother Brian also went to North Carolina. He's a nephew of B.J. Surhoff, longtime major leaguer. Bouncer up the middle. Good play from behind the bag, and there is the work of shortstop Trey Turner.
Well, we get a glimpse of the speed of Colin Moran, and he doesn't run very well. Certainly not going to catch your attention with that facet of his game, but there are some who really feel he's going to be a big-time hitter.
Known as a line drive type hitter. Jason Castro's the batter. He's hit .250 in the early going. Jason didn't play the first few games by design, trying not to put a whole lot of really extra stress on the legs of a catcher, and then he DH'd the first game that he did play. So the Astros are easing him into it. Two balls, no strikes. And it also allowed him to concentrate a little bit more on his hitting without having to play those first few games. He could spend more time in the cage.
Take it.
Defoe's there. Two down.
Yeah, I was talking to Jason earlier this morning, and it's really primarily about just kind of saving the legs, saving the body as much as possible. You're going to catch a lot of games, and you may catch more than even the anticipation if he gets that bat going.
Jose Altuve, single to right field. He's been working on that stride, trying to stride more toward the pitcher and less toward home plate. There's strike one. He has had an amazing start to his career. No balls, two strikes to Jose. Dave Hudgens said Jose is also trying to refine his pitch selection and make sure he's swinging at a good pitch to hit.
Boy.
1-2. Dave Hudgens, the hitting coach, now has a new assistant hitting coach. Alonzo Powell has joined the club this year. Alan Zinter took a head coach job in terms of head hitting coach job with the Padres. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I think every club has an assistant hitting coach now. Things have really changed in that regard in the last few years. It's 3 balls, 2 strikes. Well, the Nationals, going back 2 years ago, were picked as the best team in baseball by one of the Las Vegas odds-making books.
Well, then they must have won it all that year, right?
Didn't work out. Ground ball to third, and that's out number 3. So 3 ground ball outs that inning for Scherzer, and it's 1-1.
For the doubters.
Third now. Score is tied at 1 between the Nats and the Astros. And the Houston Astros 28-game ticket plans are on sale now. To learn more about our plans and season ticket options for 2016, sign up for your VIP appointment tour by calling 1-877-9-ASTROS. Doug Fister returns to the mound for another inning of work. Was hoping to go 3, like I said earlier, get that pitch count up a bit. We're seeing him work fast, like A.J. Hinch said he would before the game. But Fister trying to join a rotation that had such success last year, and the guys really excited about this addition. Jeff Luhnow saying that he's been watching this guy since he was pitching at Fresno State. Didn't think they were going to be able to sign him earlier in the offseason, but then when they did, he's obviously very excited. And Jason Castro telling me just here recently, saying bringing a guy in like Doug Fister and his style of pitching could really help everyone out in the rotation. And Ash, I ask you maybe to explain more about what Castro might mean there.
Yeah, Julia, I think that quick working style might be a big part of it. Of course, Dallas Keuchel is a lot like that. So maybe he would be a kind of a mirror image of what Dallas can bring to the staff. The staff was number 1 already in ERA in the American League last year, and they would love to get even better with this guy.
1-1 game. Trey Turner takes ball 1. Well, his experience, Julia told us earlier about the postseason excellence of Fister, certainly wouldn't hurt.
You know, it's a long, long season, and when games are long, I think it can really wear on the players. But when you've got a guy that might, not only on his own games, but in other games, bring guys to a little quicker pace, I think it's a good thing.
4-2 with a 2.60 ERA in the playoffs. And for a strike, 3-1 on Trey Turner. Taylor's on deck. Yeah, there's a swing and a miss. With that bat plane looking rather strange from Trey Turner that time, you could see that he wasn't on plane.
It's like the changeup, and he's had hitters out in front. Spring training is not all about all fastballs anymore. As a hitter, you're going to see kind of the repertoire.
Leadoff walk. That's the 3rd walk, and that's unusual for Fister. Michael Taylor reached on a bunt single. He's a Mike Cameron type player who hit .229 last season with 14 homers. 1.76 walks per 9 for Fister, among the best. 3 walks today and a little bit over 2 innings. It's a shot off his leg. Moran barehanding and throwing, gets him on the stretch by Singleton. The 2 balls have been hit off Fister's legs today. They've both turned into outs.
You have a dartboard out there this afternoon. You hate to see that. You hope that everything's cool once it does happen, but it's taking some abuse on the hill. Nice play by Colin Moran. He's got that little submarine toss right there with something on it.
Pfister's laughing it off. Trey Turner advanced on the ground out with Moran making that play, and Clint Robinson will bat. So in the rotation for the Astros this spring, it's been Pfister, Wandy Rodriguez, Colin McHugh, Scott Feldman, Brad Peacock, Mike Fiers. Last year the Astros led the American League in ERA 3.57. Their starting staff was second in the league, 3.71, and they have set a very nice tone so far this spring for Brent Strom. Robinson with a foul tip, goes to a 1-1 count. Strom, he's so much fun to watch in the bullpen area. He's hands-on with the pitchers, literally. He grabs them, he puts his hand on top of their hand on the baseball to talk about grips. He was working with Feldman earlier today on the leg kick. Robinson grounding out. But there's always something on Brent Strom's mind when he's working with any given pitcher. Runner to third, 2 outs.
Some guys you can listen to, and it sounds a little bit nebulous. Not so with Brent Strom. He's got a point of view, and he's really good about getting it across.
Tyler Moore will bat. He struck out looking in the first. The Nationals are just a few miles from Kissimmee. They're in Vieira, Florida. So these two teams are frequent opponents. And they'll be meeting on Thursday in Vieira. Colin McHugh scheduled to start that game. Strike one to Moore. These two teams will be having the same home base a year from now, the ballpark of the Palm Beaches. 1 ball, 1 strike. They will share a complex. And from what we've been reading and hearing about that complex, it's going to be a real treat for the fans. Here comes Gomez into right center field. Springer watches Carlos make the catch for out number 3. And it's no runs, no hits, and a man stranded at third. It's 1-1. George Springer, an active player at all times. Let's take a look at what's going on with George.
As talented as they come. Right field became a big part of his game plan last year. This spring starts right out. That's his first at bat of the spring. Double to the right field side, a ball that was almost handled, but as we talked about earlier, the first 3 swings or hits anyway on the spring were doubles. This one a double despite the face plant that he had around the bag at first base. So you can see he's swinging it big time and driving the baseball. And I think that's what everybody would like to see from George this year, along with, and again, we underline stay. Today, another good swing right away, another line drive. This one a measly single. We'll take him.
Well, that was in that first inning rally when the Astros scored on the Colby Rasmus hit.
You can see right away, though, that George is bulked up again.
Have you talked to him about that?
I spoke with him this morning. And I just wound up saying, you look some kind of amazing. And he had an I know kind of smile on his face, as if he knows what all the work was that went into the way he is looking right now.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, Astros fans have seen that footage of Altuve, the way he works out. You know, the guys have sledgehammers now. They jump over big tractor tires and things of that nature, and they pull on ropes. I think George does some of that. He pulls more than his body weight, things of that nature. They just get so strong in the gym during the winter.
Well, he's got the sleeves on, and he tends to do that a lot. If he takes those sleeves off, he's working on a railroad, I believe. If anybody does that anymore, I don't know that they do.
I think computers do that, don't they?
They probably do.
2-2. Remember when guys used to get construction jobs so they could look good?
I don't only remember. I personally experienced that. Of course, did nothing for the looking good part.
Well, let's think about this for a minute. If you're able to look as good working construction as you do with these guys in the gym, and then you also get paid, why not?
You know, I actually had it sometime in my career. The line dropped on me, looks good in the lobby, and for an instant that sounds good, but it really didn't. It wasn't intended to be a good statement.
That's strike 3. Springer is rung up, 1 out.
Yeah, George had a tough second strike called on him, and then wound up seeing that fastball run up and in, probably in the strike zone. We'll see. That probably finds maybe a chunk of the plate.
Mara Petit among the free agents who signed with this Nationals club, figures to be in their bullpen, it would appear to some. Carlos Correa struck out swinging in the first. Now the Nationals signed Oliver Perez, who was with the Astros last year, to be in their bullpen, as well as Petit and Sean Kelly. And then Daniel Murphy coming into play second base. But they lost Jordan Zimmerman and Doug Fister. Foul ball. Very disappointing year for them last year, but they were looking good for a while, and then they faded. They finished 29-32 after being in first place at the end of July.
Well, here's the big news of the spring for the Nationals. Bryce Harper's had 4 plate appearances and is yet to homer.
Wow, that is. Harper had the highest OPS for a 22-year-old last year since Ted Williams. Well, Correa might give that a run when he gets to be 22. 2 balls and a strike.
Of course, Harper was put together. Ted Williams was a splinter of a man back in those days.
He was. Correa will be 22 in early September, though, so we won't know for another year and a half on that.
We better get something out of him before he retires.
Now here's the third baseman coming over, Martinson, and he won't get to it. 2-2. Well, Julia had the breaking news on Mark Anthony's visit the other day, right?
Yeah, she did. You know, Julia attracts a lot of attention anyway, but
you know, she actually got to meet Mark Anthony.
Ash missed out on all kinds of fun.
Well, he would have come and talked to me, but I was busy at the time.
Ash, don't be jealous. He didn't get your picture taken.
Okay. Point out the fact that he didn't talk to me.
Mark, of course, is writing the walk-up song for Carlos Correa this year.
Oh, that's right. I did read that the other day.
Yeah. And what about you, Julia? Is he doing a walk-up song for you?
Oh, I should have asked that.
Because we would play it every night.
Yeah, you're right.
We would do that.
I wonder if I can get a hold of him.
Oh, sure. He'll be around.
Just use that number. You know the one.
Okay. Yeah. That special number. Line shot into center. Correa is aboard with a 1-out single.
Tough slider down and away. Some kind of player. You know, at times you can feel like you're maybe saying too much about a guy, but I'm not sure it's possible with this guy. Just stays on it beautifully and drills it back up the middle.
Yeah, the platitudes have come out about Carlos Correa. Colby Rasmus drove in the Astros run with a single to right field. He fouls it away. And Julia did some scouting yesterday, Ash. As you know, you were working Astros radio with Steve Sparks. Julia going over to George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa to watch that very watchable 1-0 Astros win.
We left Julia having to hitchhike back. I thought that was awful, leaving her like that.
Well, she's a veteran. She knew that that was not a good time of day to be on Interstate 4.
It turned out to be a little bit of a bad time, didn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of traffic. That was fun. That was my first time to George M. Steinbrenner Field.
Would you recommend it to fans?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we were looking ahead. We were projecting, Julia, as we sat there and watched the game, to opening day in Yankee Stadium.
That'll be here before we know it. 27 days, I believe.
Sounds about right. Correa takes off. Lobaton with the throw, bounces it, and it's still in time on the tag by Trey Turner. 2 outs.
That's pretty close down there.
Yes.
Would love during a regular season game to see a replay of this. Nice quick release, but that bounce left it a tough play. That's a good job keeping the glove down to apply a tag.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah, Carlos may have come off the bag, and that might have been where the perceived tag had been applied.
That was quite a tag, as you pointed out.
It's hard to keep the glove down on that throw.
And when it's skipping in there on a hop, sometimes the player has a tendency to lift that glove up. As you say, it's tough to keep it down on that level. And the bouncer takes care of out number 3. No runs a hit, nobody left. After 3, it's 1-1. Return to the scene of last year's wild card win. They take on A-Rod and the Yankees. Opening day in Gotham. Coming your way April 4th, only on Root Sports. There's the big clover leaf where the Astros minor league fields are grouped around that minor league clubhouse.
Really makes for a nice camp, because when you're starting out in the morning and the minor league clubs are working, the big league team always has at least one field they can utilize. Extra hitting, extra work of any sort, and it's been a good complex for a long time.
Astros minor leaguers have now reported, and they will be filling up those fields tomorrow on their first workout. Here's the Astros' new late inning reliever, Ken Giles, who came to Houston in the offseason trade with the Phillies, coming in for the 4th inning. First pitch is tapped to shortstop. Correa hurrying. Makes an accurate throw to Singleton. 1 pitch, 1 out for Giles. This is his 2nd outing.
Major league effort right there. When you have to charge that play and take that little in-between hop on the run one-handed, a lot of guys will have that kind of eat them up. But watch what happens for Carlos Correa. Keeps the glove down on the play. Doesn't have it coming up, swiping at the baseball, and makes a fine play.
Giles hung a slider in his first outing as an Astro, and in that one game he gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and absorbed the loss. Wilmer Difo wraps a line drive single into right field. Maybe more than that, yes. Extra bases. Springer slides, but Difo is in with a double. Well hit ball by the second baseman.
Both hitters trying to find something they could handle early in the count, and with Giles, that probably means a leadoff fastball. You know, Giles only has a couple of seasons in the major leagues with the Phillies, 69 games last year, and he was tremendous. 1.80 ERA. He's got the stuff, the makeup of a ninth inning guy, and the Astros hope that's exactly who he proves to be.
Ran into Brandon Duckworth yesterday at George M. Steinbrenner Field, former Houston Astro right-handed pitcher, now scouting for the Yankees, and he saw quite a bit of Ken Giles last year. Reed Johnson bats. There's strike one. He's very complimentary of Giles's work out of the Phillies bullpen. And it was interesting to hear from Brandon, because he came from the Phillies to the Astros in the Billy Wagner trade. So we're talking about one great Astros closer, Wagner, moving on in that deal, and the Astros hope that they just traded for another great Astros late inning man, and no closer decision has been made yet on whether it's Luke Gregerson or Giles. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, I think when it's all said and done, odds say anyway right now that Luke Gregerson may have to alter that position in the back end of the bullpen and be a guy that strengthens that portion of the pen.
2-1.
Everybody wants the strikeout arm as the guy that closes things out. That's who Giles would figure to be.
By the way, Vince Velasquez, who was a part of that trade, went to the Phillies. He had a very fine game yesterday for the Phils. He's pushing to be in their 5-man rotation. Apparently, well, you know, Philadelphia. Somebody in the media asked him if he went by the name of Vinny. He said, "No, I prefer Vince." You just see him going by Vinny in Philadelphia, right? Walking down.
Well, you should.
South Street.
You're going to get called that anyway, so why not blend in?
Giles gets a pop-up. John Singleton moving over for it. And the wind works on it and takes it out of his reach.
Might not be a bad idea to learn to love cheesesteak as well.
Oh, yeah. And Mark Appel, of course, was in that trade. Fred Overholtzer, Thomas Eshelman. Very big deal bringing Giles to the Astros. Giles is 25 years old. He had 15 saves last year. And he moved into the closer's role after the Phillies traded Jonathan Papelbon to Washington. Papelbon remains the closer. Washington then traded Drew Storen, who had been their closer, to Toronto over the winter. He was anxious to get out of there, according to reports. This one skips by Castro, and that's ball 4. Difo advancing to third base. So now you have Pfister and Giles in those 2 separate deals. Pfister a free agent, Giles in a trade, joining the Astros.
You see how that high velocity type stuff from Giles, when it's not in that tight zone around the plate, can make life tough on a catcher. Slips on by Castro here, but yeah, these guys could help the Astros take that big step forward.
Jose Lobaton fouls it back. There's strike 1. Well, you saw a little bit of information there on Giles. Here's another stat for you. He's thrown 115 major league innings. He's given up 84 hits.
I think that's one of the most telling of stats. Strikeouts per inning can be a big one. But when you're giving up far fewer hits than innings pitched, you know the stuff is special in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also see that Giles is still at that stage of things with the big stuff, that strike zone isn't exactly right there for him at all times.
Well, apparently, last time out, he was throwing around 94 with some of his offerings, 2-1, and that was a little bit higher velocity than he had last spring, or he has in a typical spring early. Sometimes a power pitcher would require 6-7 appearances, we'll say, in a given spring to get up to top velocity. And it might not be a good idea to just wait for it to happen rather than trying to force it to happen. Little tap to second. Altuve over to first, and the go-ahead run scores on the ground out. 2-1 Washington. Lobaton getting the RBI. He's had both of them.
Well, as things stand right now, and Giles is angry at himself, at something for a run scoring again now in his second outing on the spring. But it's that ball that got by Castro, whether wild pitch or pass ball. Really doesn't matter, but having that happen enables the run to score, at least to this point.
Yes. Because he had runners at first and second, and then Defoe went to third from where he scored on the little tap to second. So that pitch was instrumental in that run scoring. Dendecker's 0 for 2. And this pop sends Moran over into foul territory, but it's out of his reach. So it's those little things, those wild pitches, pass balls, errors that teams talk about in spring training all the time.
And you can hear the line every year. It's only spring training, but Ken Giles is angry. He does not want those numbers to build on his account during the spring and wants to look like he earned that job as the closer.
And Gregerson did a fine job as the closer last year.
That he did.
So it would appear that Giles is going to need a good spring. Gregerson has not pitched yet. That's strike 2.
Now that's an important pitch. Can Giles come with a breaking ball of some sort that he can throw for a strike that's called? Watch him take something off now and bend one in there. Now, it almost acted like a changeup, but it looked like some kind of other grip.
And he gets a swing and a miss, striking out Dendecker. 1 run scoring on 1 hit and a man left. It's now 2-1 Washington in the 4th.
Legend says.
Nats 2, Astros 1 in the 4th here. And every Wednesday night home game is Dollar Hot Dog Night. Enjoy all the Dollar Dogs you want while cheering on the Astros. Get more info by visiting astros.com/dollardogs or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. One of the big storylines here at spring training is that first base competition. A.J. Hinch even saying early on in spring, it's open. Working out several different guys. There even Preston Tucker grabbing a glove lately. But A.J. Reed, John Singleton, both guys we'll see due up in this inning. Tyler White, Matt Duffy also getting a lot of looks over there at first. How about this? Sunday, a split squad. All 4 of these guys in action had big games. Reed with multi-hits, John Singleton with a homer, Tyler White as well, and Matt Duffy with 2 bombs. So the competition heating up. There's a 3-game homestand coming up here in the middle of the month. We'll be broadcasting some of those games where A.J. Hinch would like to see some of these guys stepping up. That way they can start to make those cuts, get guys down. There's no way you can play 4 first basemen throughout spring. Something the guys in the booth will talk about a little bit more later.
That is a dilemma. Good point as Carlos Gomez bats, Julia. 2-1 Washington here. And the at-bats, the innings will dwindle. Of course, some of these split squad games you pointed out, are really advantageous. The Astros have already had one of those where they get to play 2 games in one day, and that means more at-bats for the players, of course. And A.J. Hinch was in Bradenton Sunday for that particular game. Brad Peacock started. Trey Hillman, the bench coach, managed the club here. But once you get to the middle of the month, they don't really schedule split squad games that far into spring training normally, and so the at-bats, the innings dwindle, and 62 players in camp. That number also has to dwindle to make sure everybody's ready.
If you got a chance to see any of the highlights of the home runs in Bradenton, the game you're talking about, Brunny, the wind was blowing in and rather firmly from left field. And a couple of those home runs were hit through the wind into left field, a couple to center field. And in each case, Matt Duffy hit one to left, hit one to center. And very impressive stuff.
Duffy's been strong in the early going. A.J. Reed bounced into a force play after a long at-bat in the first inning against Max Scherzer. Scherzer in 2 innings allowed 3 hits and 1 run, walking 1, fanning 2. He's Merrill Petit in the game now, throwing a ball. Reed played in the Arizona Fall League after last season. That's a lot of baseball for a young man. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's got me interested in seeing every one of his at-bats. Because that first at-bat against Max Scherzer was a gem. Scherzer finally got him with a changeup that squibbed right off the end of the bat.
1-2 to Reed. He was the 2014 Golden Spikes Award winner as the best player in college baseball. Very prestigious award. In the air, and the right fielder is waiting for it. For out number 2. Den Decker with a catch. And John Singleton will bat. He struck out in the first inning. Now, so the battle is on for that first base spot. And the Astros really have some strong contenders based on that day Julia talked about. But everybody seemed to break out at the same time. And now it's Reed and Singleton back-to-back in this lineup today. Reed is 0 for 2. Singleton struck out his first time. Petit delivers, and it's ball 1. Did you hear the report today, Ash, that early this morning apparently Florida Senator Marco Rubio was making an appearance?
Right here in Kissimmee,
yeah, at a bakery pretty close to the ballpark, evidently.
That wasn't Bill Clinton at the bakery.
No, but years ago, Bill Clinton came to this ballpark and played catch. I remember before a game in spring training. Yeah, he did.
They put a radar gun on him?
No, he overthrew whoever it was. He might have been trying to remember if it was. I don't remember who was playing catch with him, but he threw the ball over their heads.
He overpledged a pitch?
Yeah, and it hit somebody in the media in the leg.
I think his command might be better than presumed.
1-2. Now, I heard that traffic was kind of rerouted around Osceola Parkway because of the Rubio appearance today. But Julia might have more on that because she was here early shooting baskets with the players.
No, I didn't take Osceola Parkway. I took the beautiful 192.
Oh, don't take 192. We need to
with
talk.
Everyone else.
We'll talk. 1-2-3 inning, and it's 2-1 Washington.
Astros baseball 2-1 Nats, top of the 5th. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. There's some gorgeous shots coming from up there. You can almost see 192.
Well, if you do, you'll see about 40,000 cars on it,
That
Julia.
was me this morning.
Wow.
I'm going to have to check with you and see how you get back home at the end of the day.
Same way. I'm doing it all wrong, I think.
Well, if you do that, you'll get back home about 9 o'clock.
Ooh.
Wandy Rodriguez comes in. He had a good start here a few days ago in his first appearance. Coming back to the Astros as a free agent. He's a non-roster invitee. He was 6-4 with the Rangers with a 4.90 ERA last year. First pitch is ripped on the ground. Carlos Correa gobbles it up. Guns a throw. What an arm.
One of the rating firms decided that Carlos Correa doesn't have a lot of range. I will go ahead and say that I disagree. This isn't a hugely ranging play, but makes it easy to his left. The ball hits sharply. He can throw on top of it. He can throw from any angle, either direction. And have a little fun while he's doing it.
Michael Taylor's the batter. He's 1 for 2. Wandy gets a swing, and there's strike 1.
Chatting with Jason Castro this morning, he talked about Wandy, and the one time he's had a chance to catch him, said he threw the ball very well. Almost said it in a sense like he was surprised at how well Wandy was throwing.
Well, if the Astros choose to look for a second lefty in the bullpen to join Tony Sipp, he would be a candidate for that. So would Neil Kotz and some others. Kevin Chapman, another one. 2 balls and a strike. We talked about the makeup of the team for opening day. That would be dependent on whether AJ and his staff want to carry 13 pitchers or 12. 3-1.
If your staff is really set and guys are ready to go coming out of spring training, I think you can easily go with 12 and add that extra man, a need on the bench. But if you're not, if there are question marks, you see a lot of teams go 13.
Taylor did not have a good cut at that. 3-2. Talked with Evan Gattis today on one of the backfields. Of course, he's not really allowed to participate in workouts yet, but he's doing his own brand of working out. Tailored to a guy who had surgery a month ago today for a sports hernia. That's strike 3. Wandy gets his second out.
For that matter, I do my own brand of working out too. I think you could probably keep up.
Don't we all?
Well, here's a sharp Wandy Rodriguez. Actually, probably splits the plate with that. Castro wanted it on the outside edge.
Now Clint Robinson bats. But Evan Gattis is coming along well. He's probably a little bit ahead of the timetable the doctors gave the Astros.
Apparently that was a pretty nasty surgery he had.
Yeah, he was saying the muscle was getting pulled off the bone. Ouch. Sorry. 0-2. But and he's still very, very sore. He said that's a part of the normal recuperative feeling. He went to a Philadelphia surgeon, Dr. Myers, who is known for these sports hernia surgeries. Did a fantastic job there. But now the question becomes, how many at-bats will Evan Gattis need in spring training to be ready to be on the opening day roster? He couldn't answer that today.
I loved what I heard about the response. He had a load of at-bats last year and wound up going about 0 for 28 to start the year. Yeah. So how do you figure it out?
Right.
Maybe 0 would be a good number to take into the season.
You've seen guys get just a few at-bats that final week and come out ripping.
You know, here's the deal. You never know when you're going to find it.
2-1.
Guys are actually shy about getting really hot toward the end of the spring because you feel like you're wasting the hits you want to happen when the season opens. But when you're Wandy Rodriguez, you need to show it right now. You're trying to make a club again.
That's an excellent point, because in the past, for years, he's known that he was in the opening day rotation, if not the opening day starter, and now it's a totally different feel for him. 37 years old now. Colin Moran comes over, and we have not checked on Wandy's agreement whether he has agreed to pitch at AAA. Sometimes there is a clause in a veteran player's contract that if he isn't put on the major league roster by a certain date, he could elect to become a free agent at the end of spring training. Don't know anything about that.
Rosters often dictate, but I'd say from just watching Wandy right now, he looks like he could handle the job and do a good job.
Of course, he came up with the Astros, and then they traded him to Pittsburgh in 2012. But he has 97 major league wins, 98 losses. And, you know, a guy who has 97's got to be thinking about getting 100. Wandy had a 3.02 ERA for the Astros in 09. That was 9th best in the National League. He went 14-12 that year. Pitched 205 innings that year. Sidearm delivery. He has featured that a few times this spring. 3-2.
He's facing a left-hand hitter that's hanging in there on the normal breaking ball, so you start to resort to something that, well, maybe he can't handle this.
Beautiful view from our DirecTV blimp above. We'll have that again tomorrow on the air at 11:30 tomorrow. Dallas Keuchel makes his debut, and the Atlanta Braves will be here.
You always get a blimp when you work, right?
We've never had a blimp, have we? Spring training?
Not to my memory.
Do we get a ride in the blimp? Have you ever had one?
Oh, we could have used that yesterday. Avoided some of that Highway 4 mess.
Yeah. Correa's positioned perfectly on the shift, and he gets it. 1-2-3, fifth inning for Wandy Rodriguez, 2-1 Washington.
Finnegan has served in 190.
Stage of this ball game, 2-1. The Nationals lead the Astros in the fifth, and we have an all-new outfield for Dusty Baker's Washington Nationals. Tony Campana has checked in to play left field with Chris Heisey in center and Logan Schaefer in right. Interesting because Campana and Heisey are both former Cincinnati Reds, and Dusty Baker, of course, managed that club. Ismael Petit has done a good job. He took over in the third inning as he comes out now for the fifth. There are new players on the infield as well. I believe that's Matt Skoll at first base and Chris Bostic at third now for the Nats. Colin Moran to lead it off for Houston. He grounded out in the second inning. Well, so the National League East, with the Mets, of course, having been the National League World Series entry, with Washington, those two teams figure to be in the scrum in the National League East to win that division, don't they?
I would think so. You mentioned a couple of years ago, and I think last year as well, Washington was the odds-on pick to win not only that division, but maybe go to the World Series and be the favorite. But as we often find out, playing on paper doesn't always win.
No, it doesn't win. Paper rips and it catches fire and gets crumpled up.
I never heard that one. Paper rips.
Ever have a paper cut?
Many a time.
Well, you know, you could be on the disabled list with a paper cut in spring training, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be a tough guy ball player. Paper cuts make you whine at home during the off season, and
You think a paper cut could be debilitating for somebody?
for a pitcher, guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true. Slash that finger.
I've heard of stranger injuries for the pitchers. Steve Sparks down there tearing phone books. And
Sparky doing Astros radio, as he almost always does, although he has a few days off in the spring. What was it, a dislocated collarbone?
some kind, shoulders, collarbone, something. I think I'd be a little timid about telling the skip, hey, I don't think I can go today. What happened? See, therein lies the story.
Yeah. Moran rolls out. Did you see that souvenir baseball? Nobody was running for it.
Here we go. Astros mini plans are on sale right now. Pick games and great seat locations with the 15-game flex plan, or you can choose the best giveaways with the 10-game award series package. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com/mini plans to get yours today. Do it online. There's no paper cuts involved.
Well, you like the online stuff, right?
Well, it's the only way to go.
Jason Castro grounded out earlier. And that's ball one to Castro. Well, back in 2012, Steven Strasburg was shut down by the Nationals. And the statement at the time was, well, we want to manage his innings and we want to make sure that he's available for the playoffs in years to come, right?
That worked out well.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right in what you said about the future being so unpredictable. And you can understand limiting the innings.
Sure. I fully get it, but I'll tell you the guys that I was around as a player that stayed the healthiest were the ones that went and played winter ball and just kept it going all year round. And it sounds wrong in today's world, but those guys never had a sore arm.
Mm-hmm. Toward the left field line, slicing, and Castro takes a few steps out of the box, but it's out of play. 1-2. Aaron Boone's in camp. Aaron remembered that he had to retire here when he was with the Astros years ago because of the need for heart surgery. He's become a fine television commentator. Always good to see Aaron. Tim Kirkjian is making the rounds. He's trying to go to all 30 major league camps.
30 and 30?
30 and 30. Well, maybe 30 and 30. They've been to Arizona already and seen a lot of clubs. So that would be a whirlwind, wouldn't it? You talk about being on the move in spring training, trying to see all 30 clubs. And Tim Kirkjian, who's one of the finest writers and commentators, said, well, I'm not really, putting much significance into the appearances in these games and what players do, but more like who's gained 20 pounds, who's lost 20 pounds, things of that nature.
Well, then John Singleton should have caught his eye this morning.
That's true. He's gained some muscle.
He's a big fella. It looks good. But also, again, George Springer. I'm telling you, he is a beast of a fellow right now.
Jose Altuve is 1 for 2. Well, it's tough to maintain that kind of appearance created in the gym with all that hard work over the winter, with all the concentrated hours without playing baseball.
Without question, it's tough. And I wonder, how George can maintain it. And I've seen George really strong looking in the past. He's strong even when he leans out. But, I hope he can maintain it, because what we've seen here early in the spring says he plays very well with that muscle on him.
That's a good point. Altuve grounds out, and it's a 1-2-3 fifth inning for Pete, and a 2-1 lead for Washington. great weather here this early March period for spring training. The Nationals lead it 2-1 over the Astros. Lower humidity than we sometimes see in early March. Nice breeze. The highs have been in the upper 70s a lot of these days we've had so far. Ash, this is terrific, isn't it?
Humidity down, traffic up. I'm not sure which way I would take that if I had my druthers.
Yeah.
Colby Rasmus can handle anything. What did he become a fan favorite during the postseason last year?
Yeah, can't wait for his bobblehead coming out later this year.
Is it loaded with moss?
It has the goggles on it. Nice. That he wore for the celebration.
You know, that's one nice gentleman right there. And he is respectful to everybody he speaks with.
Strike to Tyler Moore. We have several changes for the Astros as Moore leads off the 6th inning. He's 0 for 2. Including Matt Duffy now playing first base. And J.D. Davis is at third with Joe Sclafani at second base.
There was a drill this morning. I don't know if you were over there at the time, but they were hitting ground balls to first and mocking the double play, firing down to second base. And I was wowed by Matt Duffy.
All right, tell me more.
Well, it's just the slick hands and the quick release and accurate throws. And a lot of guys are tentative about that drill. Make sure you don't make a mistake. It wasn't the tentative guy you were watching or I was watching at all. It was just slick as could be. And then he went over to third base and had the double play drill going on. And the same thing. So I've been very, very impressed. And again, 3 dingers already.
Yuri Perez is the new center fielder. He just moved over about 15 feet to his left. With this 1-2 count on Tyler Moore. There he is out there in right center. Curveball, diving. Correa fires to first. Great play.
Well, considering the lack of range, that's a heck of a play. Yeah. Believe me, this guy can range with anybody. And again, going to his right from that hole, plenty of arm. And I think he sized it up in that instant, how much he needed. And that's a big quality. Popping up, you see it instantly, and you know how much to put on the throw.
Quick feet. Now Martinson puts one in the air. And it's the first baseman Duffy over to his right. 2 outs. A point on that play by Correa. Sometimes a 6'4" shortstop has problems scrambling to his feet after diving and making that play, but he had no problems.
You know, Hardy with the Orioles is a big shortstop too, and he's been among the leaders, if not the leader, in fielding percentage for a number of years now. So I'm not sure size limits necessarily.
True.
There was a guy named Ripken, I believe, that played with the Orioles at shortstop for some time that did okay.
He was pretty good. Now, Scott Sizemore, the batter, and a Jeter fellow played shortstop for a while. He was 6'3".
Yeah, he was bigger than the initial appearance.
Right.
But I see no reason for a lot of the concerns people have about, well, maybe Carlos can move to third base and Bregman become the shortstop. I don't think Carlos is going to cough up shortstop anytime on his own.
He has no intention of doing that. Sizemore gets underneath it. Rasmus way back. Running out of room, and Sizemore has hit it foul a long way. Round second base.
Thought the previous pitch, Sizemore might have gotten away with one. Wandy working it right down at the bottom of the knees area.
The wind is blowing out to left, and that one just got on a jet stream and took off.
This ballpark has a way of doing that. The wind tends to blow to one corner or the other. And that leaves balls hit to right field on some days and left field like a day like today where it just keeps moving away from the foul pole.
Duffy makes it out number 3. 1, 2, 3, 6. That's 6 up, 6 down for Wandy Rodriguez. 2-1 Nationals.
Of the 6, it's 2-1 Nationals over the Astros. MLB TV Premium is back with a new low price for 2016. Watch every out-of-market game for every team live in True HD on over 400 devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. George Springer will lead off here in a second. I got a chance to ask him about his off-season workouts, guys. He was in Houston this year, and a lot of the guys are at Minute Maid Park. A lot of the guys work out together. Not George Springer. He doesn't like to work out with anyone, he says. He likes to work out by himself, go through the pain, the soreness, and not have anybody see it. That way when he shows up, he has the finished product. How about George Springer? I'll be talking to him coming up here in a little bit when he gets out of the game, by the way.
He might be the Michelin man of the spring, actually.
Without a doubt, Julia. Tell him to take his sleeves off when you chat with him and put it on camera, because he is an impressive fellow right now. Talk about a guy that looks the part. Man.
Yeah. He does. And it's about training for that explosive type of speed required in baseball, too.
He's got the skills to be, in my book, the best of the right fielders in Major League Baseball, and that says a lot. He's got an arm to go with it. And offensively, I think we're yet to see anywhere close to what he's capable of. Other than that 1 week a couple of years ago, prior to getting hurt, he went into Kansas City and I believe came out of Seattle maybe before that. But that was the George Springer that's a possibility.
He fouls it back. Do you find that guys who really bulk up in the gym and add a lot of muscle to their upper arms sometimes have difficulty throwing in the spring?
Yes, absolutely. And I have not seen George throw to this point. But let me ask you this. If you could have a version of George Springer that hits 35-plus home runs, hits for average as well, and throws a little bit less than he did in the past, now, for me, I'd say take it in a heartbeat.
Bring it on. He's talked about, and he takes strike 3. He's really kind of refined his hitting a little bit. He's not going all out on his swings, but just trying to get that good bat path to the ball, and you could certainly see it with his improvement last year.
And again, you factor in the right field hitting that he improved upon so much last year. And he can drive it out of the ballpark that way. Going to have to cut it loose today. Kind of a little bit frozen, peeping on some fastballs on the inside portion of the plate.
Correa takes from Voth, and it's a strike, 0-1.
But Springer, Correa, and who fits behind right there to keep Correa a guy that pitchers have to go after? I think that's a big question that has to be answered.
Well, A.J. Hinch was asked about his lineup before the game today, and he kind of remembered this top 4 from today's lineup being a playoff lineup for him last year. With Rasmus hitting 4th behind Correa.
Would that be one of the important questions you would want to have answered by the end of camp if that were your decision?
By the end of camp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter at all in these games right now. Although you'd probably want whoever that is to get some ABs there and to understand the role that, look, you're flexing to make the pitchers see it so that they face Correa.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be important. 3 balls and a strike. With Altuve and Springer, the Astros have 2 very capable on base average hitters at the top of the lineup. And then Carlos hitting 3rd. That's set in stone.
Look, if George Springer is the guy that I think could happen this year, that hits a load of home runs and hits for average and has a chance to drive in a lot of runs, I'm not sure the 2 spot is where I would keep him. Maybe he could become the guy that hits behind Correa, but then who's behind Springer?
Right.
You know, you kind of keep pushing that back.
Liner, oh, it's caught. 2 outs.
But it's really good issues that we're talking about for this club. Fastball got on the hands of Carlos. It is otherwise a base hit without this play.
Colby Rasmus drove in the Astros run in the first with a single to right. He grounded out in the third. Houston has 4 hits, all singles. The Astros are 5-1, and the Nationals are also 5-1 in the early going. Liner to left. That looks good.
Did that look intentional to you like it did to me?
It really did.
That looked like Colby saw a hole over there and said, I'm going to see if I can exploit the defense.
Why not?
Watch this. It'll slash me to left. That's pretty.
Kept his hands out front.
I really wonder when, and I guess you have to ask if before when, Major League hitters are going to try to do this. It's really, in good part, the left-hand hitters that get shifted on so much.
Rasmus leaves for a pinch runner, Tony Kemp. And it's Yuri Perez, who's the center fielder now. He took over for Carlos Gomez batting. Kemp has been a good speedy base runner in the minor leagues for the Astros, a product of Vanderbilt. The Astros down by a run with 2 outs. Would love to have a guy in scoring position. And there's strike 1 to Yuri Perez. Perez is 1 for 6. Good size lead for Kemp. It's no balls and 2 strikes.
That semi-slide step on the hill is probably taking away the thoughts of really having a shot to run.
Kemp had 55 steals last year. He divided the year between Corpus Christi and Fresno. He is a run scorer who led the minors in runs scored in 2014 with 121. Draws a high throw. Well, you get down to 0-2 with 2 outs in the inning, and it's almost let's do this, you know.
Yeah, why not?
Especially in spring training, so the manager can see Kemp and whether he can steal a base or not.
Look, that's exactly it. You'd like to win the games, and you're trying to, but you're trying to find out who can utilize what skills.
He's going. Throws high, but he slides into the tag. And that's the end of it here in the 6th inning for the Astros. No runs, a hit, nobody left. After 6, it's 2-1 Washington.
That's over the Astros. We head to the top of the 7th. George Springer's day is done, and he joins me now over here in the dugout. And George, I just want to start by asking you about spring training. How are things going for you?
Good. You know, it's obviously good to hit some at bats in a game. You know, to start to hit that flow of playing every day, and you know, just see some pitches.
A well-hit ball early on in this one for you. Where are you as far as at the plate? How are you feeling as far as timing and everything goes?
I'm getting there. You know, I mean, I've obviously hit the ball hard and you know, had some times where I didn't. So, you know, it's obviously the goal is to be ready by, you know, April 4th. And, you know, I feel like I'm on my way.
Centered up a few balls so far this spring for you, and we saw you do that a lot last year as well, almost become a different kind of hitter. Tell me a little bit about the difference of 2014 and 2015 for you.
I don't know. You know, I just understand that, you know, all I'm supposed to do is just head to first base and you know, just keep head on base. And you know, it was able to slow me down a lot and you know, it taught me how to just hit instead of, you know, just heading up there and trying to hit a home run.
Even in that leadoff spot, you had some success for the Astros. Do you just feel comfortable anywhere they put you?
Yeah, you know, I understand my role. You know, I understand who I am as a player, and you know, the goal for me, obviously, you know, if I'm hitting first or second, is, you know, to get on base and you know, do anything I can to have a good quality at bat, and then, you know, hopefully if there's somebody in, you know, hopefully I can do my job.
This is a very calm George Springer everyone is seeing right now. This is not who you are, George. We see you dancing all over the outfield. We see you having a good time with your teammates. How fun is it to be a part of this group and know that so many of you guys are coming back this year? It's
fun, you know, to know that we've got, you know, almost the same team is obviously something special. You know, we'll probably start to get some stuff going here shortly. You know, we'll start to have some fun out in the field, and you know, these first few days are tough. You know, you won't want to get your feet wet, you know, swing the bat well, and then you know, obviously once we start to play April 3rd or 4th, you know, that's one.
Training and tell me about that and what it's been like in the clubhouse this year, watching some of the younger guys.
Just being, oh no, come get it, come get it, come get it, oh no. Just being, you know, scared out of my mind. You know, I was obviously young, and you know, I didn't understand anything. You know, I understood, I guess, the fact that I was supposed to hit the ball, but you know, these last few years, I guess, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have some, you know, great guys here who are now here, and some who are gone. So yeah, you know, obviously, you know, the vibe's a little different now. You know, we've played with half these kids who are, you know, who are here now and you know, on your way. So it's fun, you know, just to see everybody, you know, who's new and you know, everybody who isn't new.
I think Alex Bregman said they're giving him a hard time for sure. Are you one of the guys that are giving the younger players a hard time, George?
No. Bregman brings it on himself. He tries to start wars. He tries to do a lot of stuff that he shouldn't do. And when you got guys that have some experience with, you know, jokes and tricks, you might not want to start to play games, but you know, he has some fun. It's actually been really fun, you know, just kind of messing around, and you know, he almost got me and Marisnik with jersey switch, but it didn't work. We're a little bit too savvy for him, so you know, if you know, he might end up with some frozen clothes or some icy hot in the cleats. You never know, you know, what's up our sleeves.
I know from experience from you guys. As far as this team, what excites you about the 2016 group? What excites you about the guys that are sitting in that clubhouse with you these days?
Everything. You know, this the combination of, you know, who's in there. You know, the speed, the power, the arms. You know, it's a big personality team. You know, there's a lot of guys in there, you know, who like to have fun, and you know, this game is hard enough, and you have to be able to kind of have fun and kind of ease the tension every day, and that's something, you know, that I think that our team does extremely well. You know, from the moment we step onto the field, you know, it's obviously all about the game, but you got to be able to slow it down and kind of enjoy playing a game.
One thing I do want to ask you about, there's a big shootout tournament coming up within the team. Everyone's going to try their basketball skills out a little bit. Tell me about this tournament, and do you have any skills?
Not the biggest basketball guy in the world, I'm not going to lie. The only thing I can do is jump. Not a big shooter, but I can stay down low. But, yeah, this will be, you know, it'll be an interesting one. Gregerson is claiming, you know, the top seed, and he thinks he's the best. So I don't know. I actually forget who won last year. I think I think he did. I'm not quite sure, but this will get intense. The first round will start tomorrow. You know, he will see that some guys should stick to playing only baseball, and we will see that some guys, you know, can adjust to certain stuff. So, you know, I mean, there's some guys here who have some ugly jump shots. I can promise you that.
You're not going to give us names, are you?
I can't just yet, but let's just say that there is. You wouldn't assume that they could play a sport based on their jump shot.
To be continued. Just a chance to give viewers for them to see how much fun you guys are having off the field and on the field. Thank you so much for your time, George. Thanks for joining us today, and good luck the rest of the spring.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Brownie, I'm going to send it back over to you.
Julia, you should really be a part of that contest tomorrow, by the way. You were making shots today.
I did. I drained a couple.
You belong out there.
Julia, I want you to probe for names on the bad jump shot.
It's tomorrow morning. I plan on being around for that.
You're always around to give us the inside scoop on things like that. And we appreciate it. Just don't take 192 when you come over here.
Boy, there was a lot in that interview, and I heard some stuff that intrigued me.
Yeah? What in particular?
Early on, George talked about his role, knowing who he is, that he needs to just get to first base.
Yeah. Roller to Duffy. Difficult play there, but Wandy Rodriguez is there to take the toss. Well done by Duffy. But Washington comes up with a run on 2 hits and leaves them in, taking a 3-1 lead in the 7th.
Legend says
Here at the 7th inning stretch for A.J. Hinch, hoping his Astros can get something going late because they have been held to just 5 singles. A.J. Reed last year at High A Lancaster and Double A Corpus Christi ripping the baseball, and those numbers were staggering by the end of the year.
And from what I've seen, the way he looks against a major league pitcher, his numbers might not translate so far off of what you're looking at. I see some real quality in this guy at the plate. Doesn't hurt having nice options, does it?
Not a bit. Derek Fisher now will be the leadoff man for the Astros in the home 7th inning. One of their outfield prospects. And he's swinging and putting one in the air deep to right field for Fisher. And Fisher has come up to deliver a home run here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Well, the runs have been hard to come by here recently, but there's a quick one.
Sean Kelly just in the game, and on his first pitch, Fisher gets his first hit of the spring. He was 0 for 4 and makes it a homer, 3-2.
You'll remember that one.
The Astros have been a home run hitting team this spring as they were last regular season. That's their 12th home run. That's right up there with Detroit for the lead in spring training.
Only the Toronto Blue Jays had more dingers last year in the regular season, and just 2 more than the Houston Astros.
Now it's Matt Duffy. Leads the club in homers. He hit 2 in one game, and he has 3, but that's out number 1.
Matt Duffy had a pretty good swing on what looked like a hanging slider, but there's that fastball just gutted and rammed out of here. Another name to add to that he can go deep list.
Back to a 1-run game, and the Astros look for more with 1 out. J.D. Davis, the batter. He's up for the first time in this game. Strike on the slider from Kelly.
Speaking of a guy that can go deep, he just demolished some batting practice balls a couple of days ago that I was watching, and man.
Well, he's another of those powerful college products in the Astros system. He went to Cal State Fullerton, hit 26 bombs at Lancaster. Davis, the 3rd-round pick in 2014, third baseman.
Back to George Springer just a little bit. I really was intrigued to hear George say, although I kind of sensed it last year at times when he was utilizing right field a lot and picking up the singles. It translates nicely in the batting average, but to me, to have George have a mindset of I just need to get to first base, I'm not sure I'm buying into that. He's a rare talent, I feel. And when I think about rare talents, the way I size it up, you're talking about guys that are difference makers in games, and those are not guys who hit singles. And I just think George has so much more than that. And yeah, I don't want to see him striking out either.
That's out to center field. 2 down.
So I hope that there was just a little modesty in that comment and no withholding.
Tyler Heineman, switch hitting catcher, comes up. UCLA product.
Did you see his magic act?
I didn't see that. I know
No.
that happened a while back. What was it he did exactly?
Card tricks, sleight of hand.
Yeah.
And he's good. They had a camera right up on him, and from what I saw online, I couldn't detect anything.
Well, you think he can make a baseball disappear?
Well, that would be a nice trick that could tie a game right now.
He's 0 for 5. Back out of play. 0-2.
He's got a nice presence about him. He's not one of these timid guys, a little bit fearful to talk because he's in his, first, second, or whatever year of Major League camp. He acts like he feels like he belongs.
Well, he hit .318 at Corpus, .271 at Fresno last year. And he's down on strikes. Solano throws him out. A home run by Fisher makes it a 1-run game again. 3-2 Washington after 7. Nationals lead the Astros. We go to the 8th inning. Aerial coverage is brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Tony Sipp's coming in for the Astros. They trail at 3-2 as we see that DirecTV blimp. Tony had quite a year last year and then returned as a free agent, signing a multi-year deal to rejoin the Astros.
Yeah, for my buck, he's had back-to-back really good seasons for the club. It's not only that guy that can come in and get the left-hand hitter out late in a ball game, but he'll get through an inning. And numbers have been bordering on spectacular.
He'll face Matt Skoll to lead it off for the Nats. Skoll came in at first base for Clint Robinson. Ball one for Sipp. Doug Fister, the starter, in 3 innings, allowed 2 hits, 1 run, walked 3, fanned 3. Ken Giles in 1 inning allowed 1 hit, 1 run with 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Wandy Rodriguez was very good. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. Similar to Fister's line, he had no walks and 1 strikeout for Wandy. And Tony Sipp is Houston pitcher number 4. Skoll with a swing and a miss. That makes it 2-1.
You remember the Earl Campbell Skoll brother? I tried to say Skoll brother commercial.
Yeah.
Back in the Love You Blue days.
Yes.
Tony's painting away right here, but not getting a lot to show for it.
Joe West wants to see something that catches a little more white, apparently. You know, we talk all the time about pitchers throwing pitches on the black, right? Corners.
Yes.
Technically, though, the black is not part of the strike zone.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Well, you know all about that.
Lee Wire used to take the butt end of his brush up there, former umpire, and dig it out, and not only was the black part of the plate, but about 2 inches beyond it, and it was a beautiful thing.
Those were the days.
Yes,
huh?
sir.
Well, then there was Eric Gregg, and he had a huge wide strike zone.
Well, I'll tell you why the black is part of the plate.
Okay.
All you need to throw a technical strike is to graze the white of the strike zone with the baseball.
That's right.
So that ball's right centered up on the black of the plate, and, you know, in essence, a little bit touches the white, and that's a strike.
Yeah.
So that's my story, and I'll stick to it.
Well, you are accurate in what you're saying.
But though the corners tend to be called that way, it's the top and the bottom of the strike zone that you can apply that same reasoning to that doesn't seem to play out that way.
Mm-hmm. Brian Girolamo is the batter.
Came from the Toronto organization. Good catcher. Has had a struggling time trying to hit.
Wilson Ramos will be the everyday catcher this year for the Nats. Well, the Cardinals got quite a loss yesterday with Johnny Peralta going down with a torn ligament in his thumb.
What did they say, 2 to 3 months on that one?
Yeah. And that's the same injury Yadier Molina had last year for the Cardinals. Fielding a ground ball, he was injured.
So the question has to follow, what are the Cardinals doing wrong in their spring training camp?
Toward right field, Teoscar Hernandez with the catch. 1 down. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And then with the losses the Cardinals had through free agency, Jason Hayward deciding to move on to the Cubs, and also John Lackey moved to the Cubs. That might have really shifted the balance of power in the NL Central. Now with an injury like that to Peralta, who's a very good hitting shortstop.
The Cubs already appear to be the team to beat, but we've talked about that with Washington for the last couple of years, and it hasn't played out for them. But that Cub ball club looks very talented.
Bostic takes a look at ball one.
And Joe Madden seems to find a way anyway.
He really does. Well, he's got Jake Arrieta to head that starting rotation. Chris Bryant, Rookie of the Year. 2 balls, no strikes. A lot of talent.
I guess one question for the Cubs is, can Arrieta, who never showed that kind of pitching previously, can he repeat and be that kind of pitcher again?
Correct. You know, it's funny how we look at things like that, right? Because of exactly what you said. And then he's 30 years old, so is he a late bloomer? Can he continue to post seasons similar to that? Or was he a one-season wonder? That kind of question. And yet, we'll take a guy who's had 6 or 7 really solid years in a row and just assume he's going to pile another one on top of that.
Zach Greinke.
Right.
Clayton Kershaw, that type of guy.
And you know, if you're drafting fantasy teams, you want a little bit more of a track record to feel good about it, right?
Well, you grab that other guy in the late rounds, right?
Yes. That's
how do you figure who that guy is going to be on that given year, though?
That's the fun of it. Remember, we used to have fantasy.
We did. We
would be preparing about this time of year for our draft.
Well, the draft was the biggest day of the spring.
It was. That looks like fun.
What do we got going on there?
Well, we've got time to go down there and bounce around after the game, right? Some inflatables. When's the last time you had inflatable fun?
I've done the dirigible fun, but not the inflatable fun. You know, Bronny, we were cheated in our childhood.
We really were. We didn't have any of those. What do we have? Trampolines?
Yeah. With no protection on the sides. Go ahead, son. Go out and play hard.
You know, Larry Durker's had a trampoline in his backyard for a long time.
Ooh, that could explain some things.
It really does, because we used to go over there and jump around on that.
I wonder if Dirk still gets out and does that.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Might make a daily habit of it. There's a walk to Bostic. 2 of those for Sip in the inning. And Sizemore will bat. Heineman and Sip talk it over. So the veteran Sizemore will try to keep the inning going in a big way for the Nats. The Astros have out-hit the Nationals 6-5. Washington has the only error today. Tomorrow it's Dallas Keuchel making his spring debut for the Astros here against Atlanta. And that game will be right here on Root Sports Southwest. Julio Teheran scheduled to go for the Braves. The Braves have really remade their team. They've made some trades. They are really going young. They're building a new ballpark.
Are they ready for that this year or next year?
Next year.
Next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gone into Atlanta and stayed on that side of town, and it's really nice.
Or is it Cobb County?
I believe so.
Out to left field, Tony Kemp with a win, pushing it further, goes and turns to play it off the wall. Here's one runner coming into the plate, and a second runner's going to try to score. The throw, Heineman with the tag. He got Bostic. For out number 2, but it's now 4-2 as Washington, with Scholes scoring, has a 2-run lead again.
You know, I think if you were managing for real on a day like this with the wind blowing to left field, you'd be disinclined to put the left-hand pitcher on the hill. And this ball just carries over the head of Tony Kemp out there. But nice job on the relay. There wasn't great awareness there by the shortstop to make an initial throw, but there was so much time. The runner was just going around the bag at third when that ball was caught at short.
Mm-hmm. That's Danny Worth who made that throw to the plate. He's in at shortstop now for the Astros. Tony Campana is the batter. He might bunt. Ball one. He frequently does bunt. And just the fact that he's facing a left-handed pitcher. Now with 2 outs, you might not want him to bunt. He had a triple in the 7th inning. Fouled it back.
Ronnie, I managed in this ballpark in the Florida State League one year, maybe a year back, and you get during the summer, the wind doesn't tend to blow like this, and it's hot and muggy, and these are big ballparks. You can see 390 before you even get to what you would call the gaps. It was tough for those kids to hit home runs here.
And they wear down in the heat and humidity.
That they would.
Duffy with the toss to Sip. 1 run scores on 1 hit with a man left. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and it's 4-2 Washington. You see the old famous orange stripe uniform right there with the Nationals leading the Astros. 2016 single game Astros tickets are on sale now. Catch amazing games like the home opener against the Royals and premier matchups with the Cubs, Yankees, Red Sox, and Rangers. More info, visit Astros.com or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. Rafael Martin is on the mound for Washington. Houston coming up at the bottom of the 8th inning, trailing, and the Nationals lead it 4-2 right now, with Martin getting set to go to work. Joe Sclafani will lead it off for Houston. Jose Altuve started the game at second base, going 1 for 3. Sclafani will try to get something started from the top of the order here, with Teoscar Hernandez on deck. Sclafani is 0 for 4 this spring. Well, we've seen him in previous springs with the Astros. He's 25 years old, from Brooklyn. Went to Dartmouth College, 14th round draft pick in 2012. Switch hitter, taking ball 1. Sclafani played for Corpus Christi, just 13 at-bats there, and Fresno last year. He hit 300 at Fresno. And 220 at-bats. Had a 381 on base average. In for a strike, and it's 1-1. I mentioned the Astros minor leaguers have reported to camp now, and they will begin their workouts tomorrow. Sclafani moves out of there, and it's 2-1. Joe, part of a Astros minor league organization last year with 7 playoff teams. Ranked as the #1 minor league organization by minorleaguebaseball.com.
Of course, then you make a couple of moves. Carlos Gomez, Ken Giles, and some of that talent starts to shift the other way. And you utilize some of that great young talent to bring in some of the veteran type of talent. And I don't want to say presence, because I don't think this team needs presence. They need guys that can play.
Well, it's certainly changed and made more urgent the mission of the organization after making the playoffs last year.
Well, I agree.
Got moved up, didn't it?
I think it's win now, and win for a good long while is also a goal. But when you feel like you can win, you take your shot. Out into right center field. Sclafani loops one in for a single. You know, watching him, as you say, he's been in other camps with the club. He's just one of those ball players. I doubt that he's the guy you talk about at the end of the day, but when it's all said and done, plays very well.
And it's a good point you're making, because a lot of the Astros fans of the minor league clubs, whether they be living in Northern California, go to see a Fresno game, or in Texas, Corpus Christi, the other farm clubs around, have seen guys like Sclafani, just solid players, really help their teams win.
You got to have those guys. Sometimes you almost hate to name those guys, because you're almost saying, well, he's not one of the big stars, but at the same time you're saying he's part of what makes this club tick.
Teoscar Hernandez taking ball one. And sometimes those guys get a shot in the big leagues.
You bet they do.
If things fall right for them. Yeah, you'll see a guy who has 8 or 9 years sometimes of minor league service come to the big leagues for the first time, or even more than that. And the thing that can be expected of them is their knowledge of the game. They may not have the tools of a #1 draft choice.
#1 draft choices oftentimes don't make it. They're guys loaded with big-looking tools. But sometimes the tool guys just don't play as well as that guy that doesn't initially catch your eye. The guy that, I think for scouts, maybe smallish, maybe whatever, doesn't run extremely well, but he's got all the other tools and he plays the game extremely well.
Right. Two balls, 2 strikes. We were talking a few days ago about, well, going way back, years and years back into the draft for the Astros. A guy like Phil Nevin, when he was the overall top pick, I think that was 92 or so, and Cameron Drew, big left-handed hitting outfielder, was near the top of the draft. Popped up into shallow right field. And right fielder catches it right behind where the infield dirt ends for out #1. And, you know, things happen. Schaefer got there for that play. In the case of Cameron Drew, he just never panned out. Phil Nevin panned out later after the Astros no longer had him. He had some big years with San Diego, but it took a while. Now he's been managing at AAA for years.
Yeah, that's one of the dangers. You'll get that guy that does have tools, and he scuffles for a while, and you finally give up as an organization, and somebody else reaps the reward.
Yes. Now Danny Worth, the shortstop, looks at strike one. Worth is 3 for 5 this spring. He's logged some big league time before. Versatile player. So he could help if the need arises. That one's looped to left center field. Campana laying out for it. Tony Campana with a catch. And the throw to first. Double play. That's a sparkling play by Campana in left. That's a 7-3 double play. And we go to the 9th inning with a score 4-2 Nationals.
start today for the Astros, and though the Astros are trailing, Doug Fister did very well. Second time he's been to the hill. He's painted around, down around the knees. That sinker working well. The changeup was effective. Picked up a few strikeouts on his day. So nice to see that. And again, Fister mixing in a rotation where you're trying to see who fills out the back end. Is it Fister, Mike Fiers, Scott Feldman? Brad Peacock is the only one of that quartet that has had a rough outing to this point. The other three guys looking good and strong. Quite solid work.
And Brad had not pitched in a game since last June.
Yeah, and injury, and really trying to mend and come back and be the pitcher that some thought he could be a year or two ago.
It's gone well on the mound. Now the Nationals come up in the ninth inning. And pitcher number 5 of the day for the Astros is veteran right-hander Will Harris, who had quite a year last year. His first pitch hit by Solano into shallow right field. Sclafani is there, and the second baseman takes it. 1 down. Now we just got a little item on the wires, so to speak. Ash,
what's going on?
Nothing big, but the Braves and Marlins will play a nationally televised game at Fort Bragg on July 3rd in honor of the nation's military.
Oh, that's nice,
isn't it?
At Fort Bragg.
Mm-hmm. That's North Carolina.
Yes,
but
okay.
I don't know anything about the ballpark there. Do you?
Not a bit.
But a very good gesture.
Salute before you go to the plate.
That's strike one. Well, you know the players will love that. Those guys always welcome veterans to all the major league ballparks and meet with them in small groups. Usually that's pretty common throughout a major league season. No balls, 2 strikes.
You were talking about the Cardinals and the injuries, and Yadier Molina story now out that he may start catching games here this week, and
okay,
that's obviously a big story for St. Louis and their fans.
Oh, he's so important to that team. The Cardinals have had such a fabulous run, but people are wondering if it's over now.
I'll have to see it to believe it, because they just keep running out the good teams.
They really do. They do have Adam Wainwright back, and he's a difference maker. A strikeout for round number 2. You know, reading a story today about the Chicago Cubs in USA Today with Jason Hayward deciding to join that team, and other players have made that same decision. John Lackey, we mentioned, is another. It just seems like that's something players are very, very attracted to right now, because it's been more than a century since that team won a World Series, and players want to be there when it happens. And they have a good team, of course.
Yeah, no question about it.
For many years, it worked the other way. Brendan Ryan with a foul ball.
Hey, by the way, you were over in Tampa yesterday against the Yankees. Did you get to see the young kid that they had in the batting cage taking batting practice? Didn't have hands or legs from the knees down?
I didn't, but I saw the picture today in the newspaper.
Oh, was it something?
Must have been.
And he had this little strap thing that enabled him with one of the arms to hold the butt end of the bat, the knob end of the bat, and then the other arm kind of tucked around.
That's incredible. That looks like a double by Brendan Ryan in the left field corner. Tony Kemp over to play it. Had quite a story in the Yankees. In fact, signed him to a contract.
10-year-old, and you think you've had things tough in your life, and then you take a look at that kid, and yeah, it kind of messes with me right now as I bring it up. But watching him hit the baseball and the joy that it brought to him was really amazing.
Such a great story. Some of the stories that are also enjoyable, we mentioned the military, the game coming up at Fort Bragg this year. Those reunion stories, when they bring a soldier back from overseas, and he's catching his son throwing out a first pitch, and he's got the catcher's mask on, so his son doesn't even know it's his dad until he takes off the mask and goes out. And
those are great.
Oh, really heartwarming. 1-0 to Heisey. Chris, the former Cincinnati Reds outfielder. And that club is certainly undergoing a major shakeup. Getting younger, rebuilding. This one out to left field. Tony Kemp. Primarily an infielder, but he's becoming more versatile by playing some outfield. No runs, a hit, and a man left. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. It's 4-2 Nats. Astros. Michael Brady is coming in to try to close it out for Dusty Baker's club. Both these teams began the day with 5-1 records for the spring. And Brady will be pitcher number 6 for Dusty Baker. Max Scherzer started. He went 2 innings. Yusmeiro Petit went 3 scoreless frames. And he could be the winning pitcher today. Brady will be facing the middle of the lineup for the Astros, but of course that's turned over since the game began. And now Tony Kemp is in the cleanup spot, and he'll be leading it off. But that's a pretty good thing for the Astros, because Tony Kemp is ideal for leading off an inning with his speed. Even though they're down by a couple, it would be nice if Kemp can reach base, stir up something with his legs to try to get this rally started in the home 9th inning.
I'm ready to see you put on a little comeback charge here.
Oh, yeah, it's time. We haven't had one of those on Root Sports yet.
You haven't needed to. We've been leading and held on every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course you mentioned earlier it's not that big a deal winning or losing games, but A.J. Hinch acknowledges that, but he wants a clean game, just a well-played game without, somebody had 4 errors in a game yesterday in the Grapefruit League, and that's kind of the last thing a manager wants.
I think one of the things that stands in the way of reasoning about spring training games is who won the game, your major league players or your minor league players. But in this case with the Astros camp, I think they're confident about both sides. Really strong players wherever you look.
That is an excellent point, because usually by the last 3 innings it's one team's minor leaguers against another team's minor leaguers, so you get to see the depth of both organizations. And Kemp gets it going. Kemp has had 5 at-bats, 1 hit, and that's a double this spring. There's ball 1. Well, Jose Altuve kind of set the mold for a small second baseman excelling. Tony Kemp might be able to fit into that. And in a way, it's kind of tough for him that he's behind Jose Altuve in this organization. Tony's listed at 5'6". He's 24 years old, from Franklin, Tennessee, and he went to Vanderbilt, where he was SEC Player of the Year in 2013. In the air, and the left fielder Campana is over and into foul territory. Reaches out.
Wow.
Campana makes the catch. He is dazzling here in the late innings of this game.
That play he made for the double play to end last inning, I didn't think he had a chance. In fact, when he started to dive, I thought, well, that's just really needless. But this play right here just kept battling and winds up making it. Nice play.
Very, very good play. That's 1 out. Now it's Perez coming up for the second time. He struck out in the 6th inning. Yuri Perez. Out into left center field. That will be a hit for Yuri Perez. And the Astros get something working.
I'm not sure coming up with a knock and jogging it down the line and not rounding the bag, and then the guy winds up kicking it in center field. Not sure that's the way you want to play that one of rare opportunities in spring training.
Yeah, not exactly textbook.
Hate to call a guy out like that in a game like this, but play it hard.
Derek Fisher ripped a homer in the 7th inning. If he does that again, it's a tie game. Fisher takes, and it's ball 1. Fisher was born in Pennsylvania, Lebanon, went to the University of Virginia. He was a competitive balance pick after the first round in 2014. That's called a strike, 1-1.
I have to say here, in the last few ball games for the club, minus the game in Bradenton where the Astros scored 11 runs to win it, it's been about the pitchers. They have controlled the action.
In for a strike, 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes to Derek Fisher. He was ranked the Astros number 7 prospect by MLB.com. Now it's a full count. Nationals are warming up 2 pitchers in their bullpen right now. Apparently Steven Strasburg is looking good in their camp this spring. He could be a free agent at the end of this year. You don't suppose he might get a nice contract, do you?
Well, you know, obviously he's still got excellent stuff. It's not the blow-away stuff that he came to the big leagues with. He was just head and shoulders better than the other guys initially. But I imagine it's a big year for the Strasburg clan.
Yeah. Struck him out number 2.
He was a national story that first year or 2 when he got up there.
You bet he was. Matt Duffy will bat. Duffy hit a fly ball to left in the 7th inning. That was a nice little play he made at first base to end the top of the 8th. He's made a couple of good plays.
What it was in my book was slick. It just was one of those plays that was potentially made routinely, but he made it look slick.
Runner going, and Duffy gets underneath it. Campana in and calling in left field. 2-ended. And it's no runs a hit and the man left. The Nationals beat the Astros 4-2. Washington going to 6-1. Houston is 5-2. And we hope you enjoyed the telecast today. We have a post-game show coming, of course. Hope you stay tuned for that. There's a look at some of the action here. And tomorrow, it's the Braves and the Astros. Coverage begins at 11:30 for Astros pregame live right here on Root Sports Southwest. Carlos Correa with a good play today. Final score 4-2. Washington beats Houston. Stay tuned for the postgame show. And join us tomorrow at 11:30. Till then, for Julia Morales, Alan Ashby, Bill Brown saying so long.
4,000 AS.